Hi guys, it's Emily, and today I'm here to bring you my September wrap-up. Now I said these wrap-ups were going to be quick, and then the one I did for August was like 15 minutes long, so clearly I need to work on cutting things down. So let's try this again and see if I can actually do a quick wrap-up this time, okay? Let's go. The first book I read in September was Love Wins, a book about heaven, hell, and the fate of everyone who ever lived by Rob Bell. I am very interested in the concept of hell, and I read Raising Hell by Sharon Baker earlier in the year, and they cover similar topics, but I actually found the Raising Hell book to be a lot better. Rob Bell's book is more, not as, well, actually to say it's less academic and less well-researched and more hypothetical a lot of the time, and it was okay. I didn't get anything particularly new out of it. I wouldn't really recommend it unless you really like Rob Bell's like Numa series or like anything like that. If you're looking for a book about hell and like the different views of hell and what different people think, I would recommend the Raising Hell book over this book. It was okay, but it was nothing to write home about in my opinion. The next book I finished in September was Dear Ijeawele, or a Feminist Manifesto in 15 Suggestions by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. And I picked this up at the library because it had just come in and it was on the end cap, the new book aisle. So I just was like, oh well, I just read Americana and We Should All Be Feminists by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. This was, again, a very short book. It's probably just meant to make money for the publisher. I didn't find it particularly new or, insightful. It was really interesting though. It's about, Chimamanda writing this letter to her friend about how to raise a daughter and also sort of how to raise a son to be a feminist, and it was good. I would reread it again. I would recommend it if you're looking for like a very basic primer on feminism, and it's also got a very beautiful cover, which has nothing to do with its, legitimacy, but I still like the cover. So yeah, this was a great book. I rated it 4 stars. I would reread it again in the future. I next read The Bertie Project by Alexandra McCall Smith. This is book number 11 in the 44 Scotland Street series, and I was super excited because this book came out last year, and my library never got it, and so I sort of had decided I wasn't going to read it anytime soon, and then my library got it in. Very exciting. And then, I don't want to tell you too much about this because it's a sequel, but it continues to follow the, citizens of 44 Scotland Street, all the people who live there, and some of the people who used to live there but have now moved on in the course of the series. It's mainly told through the perspective of Bertie, who is a 7-year-old kid living at 44 Scotland Street. He's got this crazy mom, and his dad is kind of a wimp and won't stand up to the mom. And I don't want to tell you too much more because, again, it's a sequel. I actually didn't enjoy this one as nearly as much as I've enjoyed the others because there's this one character that I really don't like. And he had a big part in this book, and I was like, please go away. Like, every time he came up in this segment, I was like, oh, go away. I don't want to tell you which character. Although if you've read the series, you probably know who I'm talking about. Because the character is, universally hated. But anyway, it was okay. I like the series. I'm going to keep reading the series. But it wasn't my favorite in the series. I then read Letter to My Daughter by Maya Angelou. And this I picked up because I just finished reading Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie's book. And I was sort of looking for something similar. I thought this book was going to be more about, feminism and, what girls empowering women and things like that. And it wasn't really about that. It was Maya Angelou's, biography. I've never read any Maya Angelou prior to this, so this was my first read of her. I was kind of disappointed in this book because, again, I felt like it was sort of just a moneymaker for the publisher because it was little short essays, and then between each essay, there'd be 3 blank pages. And the whole book was only 160 pages total. So this book wasn't even, it didn't need to be a book. It was just, it was obviously meant to just make money for the publisher. It was okay. I liked learning a little bit more about Maya Angelou since she's, not so well known and mentioned a lot and referenced a lot. But I was disappointed in this book, and I thought it could have been a lot better than it was. So I would recommend it if you like Maya Angelou, but I wouldn't really recommend it if you don't or if you never read her, because it was, I don't know, it was okay. I then read A Proud Taste for Scarlet and Miniver by E.L. Konigsburg, and this is a historical fiction book about Eleanor of Aquitaine, and I read this for the Around the Year challenge, and I've had this on my TBR since 2015, and this is just a sort of fictionalized account of Eleanor's life. Eleanor is up in heaven waiting for her husband, Henry VI, I believe, to come up, and so she and some of her friends start talking about her life, and each friend tells a different segment of her life, her childhood, and then her first marriage, and then her second marriage, and then what happened after her second marriage. So it was pretty interesting. It's a juvenile fiction book, so it's not that hard to read. It's not that popular of a book. I've read The Mixed Up Files by E.L. Konigsburg, but I don't think I'd ever heard of this one until I put it on my TBR for the challenge. So it was good. I would recommend it if you have kids that are looking for historical fiction that's pretty easy to read, or if you're really into Eleanor of Aquitaine. I know there's another book series about Eleanor of Aquitaine now that, like Gilmore from Netflix Books has mentioned, that I wouldn't mind reading. So this book was pretty interesting in that regard. It made me want to learn more about Eleanor of Aquitaine. I then read She Who Is, The Mystery of God in Feminist Theological Discourse by Elizabeth A. Johnson. I read this because I had a friend who's in seminary recommend this book as a book that he really wants his daughter to read in the future, and I was interested in it. It's not really as much about feminism as I thought it was going to be. It's more about how we name God and how using feminist language is important when it comes to naming God, not only because it helps women, advance farther in the church, but it also helps broaden the perspective of God. When you only use male terms for God, you're putting God in a very small box and assuming that he can only be like a man. And we also have this problem with Jesus because, of course, Jesus was biologically a man, but Jesus also has feminist characteristics. And I wrote a really long Goodreads review about this book, which my Goodreads will be linked down below, but so I won't go into a huge detail. I thought this book was interesting. The writer is Catholic, so there were a lot of references to Catholic things that I didn't necessarily understand. But if you're a Catholic, you might get more out of it. But I still liked it, and I still learned a lot, and I still think it's a very educational book to read. And finally, I read Talking as Fast as You Can, From Gilmore Girls to Gilmore Girls and Everything in Between by Lauren Graham. When I read this book in September, I read it on audiobook because Olive recommended that, and I really enjoyed it. And when I was reading it on audio, I had a library copy because there's some pictures in the book. So, like, when she said, go to picture 6, you can see what she's talking about. But then, after I finished reading it on audio, I found out I had won a copy from Library Thing. And so I got this beautiful paperback copy, and I really enjoyed this book, so I'm glad to have it on my shelf. This is Lauren Graham's memoir. A lot of it's based on Gilmore Girls, so if you don't like that show, I wouldn't really recommend it. But it's really funny. She starts out talking about her childhood. Then she talks about, and how she made it into the acting field. Then she talks about the first time they did Gilmore Girls, including a re-watch of the entire series and then, commenting on it. And then she talks about things she did after Gilmore Girls, like the show Parenthood, which I didn't really care about that part because I've never seen Parenthood. And then she goes back and shows us her diary from the filming of the second series of Gilmore Girls. I enjoyed this a lot. It's laugh out loud funny. I would recommend this as an audiobook, but again, I would have a copy with you so you can look at the pictures while you're doing the audiobook. But overall, it was a really good experience, and I'm glad I read it. And now, I'm glad I got my own copy of it as well. So that's it. That's everything I read in September. Hopefully this will be a little shorter than the August wrap-up. I'll be back soon with my October wrap-up, and I got a book haul coming, and all sorts of other weird, cool booky stuff. I hope everybody's having a great day, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye!